we gave people a vision that they can make a stand. There is a future for them. So we need to stand together, we need to work together, and that's what we did right across the UK, and that's why you're seeing every industry now taking action, because people simply have had enough, and that's why we started the movement Enough's Enough, and that's what we're seeing right across the UK and right across Europe.
Studio Solidaire with Chris Mitchell and Peter Mertens.
Chris, welcome here at Manifesta, and we are happy to have you here. You're a trade unionist, and so the first question is, who is Chris Mitchell?
Obviously, my background is public services in Scotland. I've been involved with the public services in Scotland for 30 years, and I've been a trade unionist since I was 16. I'm now 46, so you can do your maths, 30 years as a trade unionist fighting against austerity cuts in the public sector.
When you were 16 years old and you became member of the trade union, why did you become member of the trade? Was a family? Was your father also a unionist?
Background, yeah, my father was a trade unionist. Once I got into the workplace, I started organising the workplace. I started to see the benefits of being in a trade union. I started campaigning. I started helping people. And from there on, it just built and built and built. And it's took me up to where I'm at today as a convener for over 1,000 members in one workplace.
And the trade union membership in Scotland, you're based in Glasgow, I'm right? And the trade union membership, is it a big number, or is still a lot of people that have to be unionized?
It took a long time to build the campaign. It took a long time to get people involved with the trade union. But we've got there. A lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, blood, sweat and tears, as I call it, back in Glasgow. But we got there eventually, and people now are starting to see what it's like to be involved in a trade union, what it's like to build a movement, and what it's like to be basically feel that you're wanted and feel that what the benefits of a trade union is, especially when you're facing austerity cuts in the public sector.
As a trade union member and as an organizer of the trade union, you have to hear a lot of different stories. Also, I think I can imagine people having difficulties to pay their bills, etc. I think also a trade union member or a shop steward maybe is an important figure for some persons. So how you deal with all these problems of people?
The UK right across Europe is facing a cost of living crisis. It's facing an energy crisis, and workplace poverty is very much real. So as a trade unionist, you're right at the forefront of that fight. I've took workers to food banks, key workers, critical workers that came out of a global pandemic, gone to food banks as a national scandal. And that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with every single day, and it's absolutely disgusting.
You're saying that key workers as hospital workers, etc., they do not earn enough to get around at the end of the month.
Yes, they can't afford to pay their mortgage, can't afford to pay their rent. They're struggling to, it's a big thing in Glasgow now, right across the UK, is heat or eat. That's a fact. These are key workers, critical workers that saved this country. Cleansing workers, refuse workers, hospital workers, carers, and looked after the most vulnerable in society are using food banks because their wages that they get are that low. It's a disgrace.
And has the pandemic, COVID, has it changed anything? Because at the evenings there was the applause for the key workers, but did it change at the end anything for the key workers?
Nothing.
Nothing.
During the very first lockdown in March in 2020, my members were given a note saying they were critical workers and key workers, and it's essential that they go to their workplace. But even into that 2-year period, they were still facing horrendous cuts in the service, austerity cuts and budget cuts. And you can't cut your way out of a crisis, and that's exactly what it was. We went from one crisis, a global pandemic, into another crisis, which is the cost of living crisis.
And I heard that last year you organized, or maybe this year, you organized different strikes also in the public sector in Glasgow. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Well, during COP26 last year, we went on strike for 8 days.
COP26,
the climate change.
The climate change COP in Glasgow, yes.
We went on strike for 8 days, and that was the cleansing workers, the refuse workers in Glasgow. Went out for 8 days because of austerity cuts. Then we took workers out 2 weeks ago for 8 days, refuse workers. And what I can confirm, we got a £3,000 rise out of that. So it was successful.
I think in the whole, some people, they say that the conservative government and other politicians, they hoped a little bit with COVID that the people would not be angry anymore and that there would be no resistance anymore. I think there was an atmosphere like that. And then this summer, in all over the UK, I don't know that everyone knows it. In all of the UK, you see these massive strikes in public sector, in transport sector. Maybe you can a little bit explain for those people who don't follow the news in the UK what is happening.
Well, after COP26 last year, we gave industries hope. We gave them a vision to take that fight up against their rogue employers, against their CEOs that are earning thousands of pounds at the misery of my members and bonuses. So we gave people a vision that they can make a stand. There is a future for them. So we need to stand together, we need to work together. And that's what we did right across the UK. And that's why you're seeing every industry now taking action, because people simply have had enough. And that's why we started the movement, Enough's Enough. And that's what we're seeing right across the UK and right across Europe.
To give people this hope and this strength, but it's also about strength and to be proud. You said once the working class is back again.
Yes.
But where was the working class before?
Well, that's the point. We were involved in an employer's market. Employees were being bullied. You had 0 contract hours.
0 hours contract.
0 hour contracts, yes.
What does it
Which
mean?
that's basically that's an employer telling you that you're only earning under €5 an hour. Right, in some sectors that is a scandal. People can't live on €5 an hour. Right, and then we had the situation where it was hire or fire and rehire, bringing people in underpaid and undervalued. We put a stop to that as well. That's a scandal as well. So that was another fight we had to go against employers.
But with this strength that you see now with the railway workers, with the cleansing workers, what you do in Glasgow, this strength and this hope that is there again, did it came all at once, or did you build that during a long time?
That took a lot of team building. It took a lot of campaigning. And it took a lot of work. We had to get people involved with the trade union. We had to tell people that you don't need to be scared in life anymore. There's a future for you. There's better conditions there for you. There's a better future for you and your family. Better working conditions, and most of all, there's a pay rise there that you deserve. And your employer want to stop bullying you and intimidating you. And the Scottish Government were doing the exact same. So we fought against that. And we won that argument. And that's why you're seeing this trend now right across Europe, that people are willing to take action now. People aren't scared anymore. There's nothing to be scared of. See if you stand shoulder to shoulder with an army behind you, there's nothing more powerful than that, trust me.
Mm-hmm. And the Thatcher government, in that time, they tried to have this image about breaking the trade unions and say trade union, that's from the past, that's something from the 20th century or 19th century, and so we are modernist, and in the modern time you don't need a trade union anymore. That was the image that was there from Thatcher. So how you answer?
The Conservative Party, as I call them, the Tories in the UK, tried to do union busting. They've tried to do union busting for years, bringing it into anti-trade union laws. So it was very, very hard for you to even take any kind of industrial action, making it out as if it was the striking workers' fault. It's nothing to do with the striking workers' fault. It's the fact that they wanted to dictate to us, they wanted to bully us, intimidate us. And that's what they did. Give people low wages, horrible conditions. The rich get richer and the poorer get poorer. But see, this now is coming to an end. And I'll tell every politician that I face is coming to an end. Because no more will we stand for this anymore. This country, this world deserves better, and we will get better. And we're making that stand.
Mm-hmm. And being organizing the working class people on the level of the factory and the level of the neighborhood, but the general opinion in Britain and Scotland about the trade unions. Is it becoming more friendly towards the trade unions? Is there a sympathy growing in the general public towards the trade unions? Or is there still a lot of work to be done?
No. I think the public now are starting to realise the importance of the trade unions. We've got a lot of activist groups. We've got a lot of community groups. We've got trade union campaigns. And what we did last week back in Glasgow was when we started the Enough's Enough campaign, we got everybody involved with that. and the general public involved with that as well, to tell them they've got a voice as well, and that we can all stand shoulder to shoulder. There should be no union bashing or trying to divide and conquer. The days are finished.
Okay, and like in this Enough is Enough campaign, there's different subjects, different problems that you're answering, like energy bills and also salaries. And is that a way to bring people together from working class and from the neighborhoods in a bigger campaign?
Yes, like definitely. What we're doing Enough's Enough campaign is that if one sector's on strike, then we support that sector. Everybody supports that sector, because what I see is an attack on one is an attack on all. So everybody supports each other, and that's why it's growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
You explained, Chris, about the discussion on the factory floor, on the work in the workplace, and working really with trade union members and organizers. But you're also active in the video sector. You're making small movies that are very popular. Is it important these days to be also active in the social media? Or
social media can be a good thing, can also be a bad thing, but it just depends how you put yourself out there. We used Facebook and Twitter quite a lot to do our campaigning, and it worked for us. It just means that we could spread it out to a wider audience and everybody could relate to it. 30-second video gets you 3 million hits, and it gets everybody interested, it gets everybody active, and it gives people that vision. You know what? See that guy there? That guy's fighting for the working class. Let's all do the same.
So it's a conscious idea that you're working with social media. It's also to reach young people or of everyone. Yeah.
That's the thing here, right? I was down at speaking to the young activists. Absolutely inspirational. So any young activists in here today, you should be proud of them, honestly.
Okay.
And Belgium's absolutely fantastic at that, because I think they start them at a very young age and get them active in the workplaces. And you can see it with the climate change as well. A lot of people are now starting to stand up and be counted. But it's a lot of young activists now. Because at the end of the day, I'm now 46. I'm getting an old man now, so I need somebody to come in and take my place. And a lot of these young activists are now starting to see, you know what? We deserve better. We deserve a better future for us and our family. So
well, that's a nice spirit to pass to other generations. Like when we are talking about climate change, there is this goal of the ruling class to say climate change is that's not for the working class, because they're gonna pay the bills, etc. And they're trying to divide the young people that are struggling for a better climate and working. How do you cope with it?
Social justice and climate justice, equality justice, all become one. It's one big package, that's it. We need to get that transition, but there shouldn't be any gap in the market. There's plenty of money there. So we need to heavily invest in communities to deal with the climate change. And that's what the government's trying to divide and conquer, because the government don't want to put their hands in their pockets. That's the problem here. So then they start blaming the working class. The working class then start blaming the climate activists. It's nonsense. The two of them come together. There's a transition there. We can make a better planet with a future with hundreds of jobs. That's a fact.
Another thing that is strange from a Belgian point of view, that's Liz Truss. Who's the prime minister in
unfortunately.
Yes, and I never met a person that is supporting Liz Truss. Is anyone supporting Liz Truss? And how come that she's the prime minister?
Well, I think she only get voted in by 30%. So a 30% turnout in a ballot's no very good. You know what I mean? I mean, a predecessor, obviously Boris Johnson, publicly live on telly in a cost of living crisis, told Sky News to go and if you're struggling to pay your energy, buy yourself a new kettle and boil it once, and that will save you £10 a year. £10 a year in an energy crisis if you buy yourself a new kettle and boil it because it boils faster. This is a person that was running this country. This is a person that was having parties when everybody was in lockdown. And then a predecessor, Trust. How many trust her as I can fling her? Throw her, one for a better word. So we've went from bad to worse. And these are the individuals that are trying to break trade unions. These are the individuals that are trying to keep the rich richer and the poorer poorer. And that t-shirt says it all. Tax the rich, definitely. So we'll see what happens with that.
You talked about tax the rich, but is there any consciousness, like, for example, here in Belgium, you have this sky-high prices, energy prices, but at the same time, you have these energy companies who are making billions of extra profits. And so this contradiction about a small elite making super profits on the crisis, is there a debate on in England?
They need called out. That is it's a shame that people this winter will freeze to death. That's a fact. That's how hard hitting this is. And these companies are making millions of pounds at the misery of people who can't switch a light on. Misery. In fact, one of the CEOs last week, one of the energy companies, gave himself a 50 grand bonus. A 50 grand bonus when people are talking about putting candles on this winter. £3,000 in the UK. Some of these energy bills went up in October, and that's going to rise to £4,000 come January. And these companies are making millions of pounds out of people's misery. And it's got to be called out. And that's why we're all saying together, enough is simply enough.
In England, poverty is rising also in working class families. Also there, you're told about it. There's the energy crisis. There is the problems for many working class families. But in this situation, are you optimist, pessimist, or where your drive? Because obviously you have a drive and enthusiasm in yourself. Where does it come from?
Well, look in front of you now. Look at this. Right, Manifest, one of the biggest festivals. This is about everybody coming together. That's about everybody coming together in solidarity and camaraderie. It's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And what you see here is absolutely inspirational, and these individuals should be proud of what they've done. And I'll always keep fighting for the working class. I'll always keep fighting for communities. I'll always fight for better pay and, of course, climate justice. So be proud of yourself. Stand up and be counted. Solidarity, brothers and sisters.
Chris Mitchell, I love you. Thank you very much for this discussion. Voilà, merci beaucoup tout le monde, bedankt. And special thanks to Chris Mitchell, and give him a loud applause for enough is enough everywhere, in Europe, everywhere. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.